All right, Carl, that'd be all right for a start. We'll go ahead and call the American Rescue Plan Committee together, task force, and then the commissioners are recessed from their meeting this morning, so we'll just start up with the meeting to start discussion, and we'll work with the approval of minutes first after they open. Commissioners, are you open? Okay.
Yes.
All right, first on there is the previous minutes of May 4th. That's your discussion. We're going to read those minutes. We are lacking quorum here. I know Sherry will not be here. I haven't heard anything. Mark Manship, he attended, I would suspect is still in Chicago with their daughter. So Brock and I gave the award for the official record that are here in attendance for the ARP. Do you want me to read the minutes to refresh?
I read them a while ago, but if you want to read, it's up to you.
Do you, not? Okay, all right. We really can't ratify these because we've got a quorum, and so. Yes. Is that better?
Appreciate it.
All right. Very good. Okay, so we'll hold off on ratifying the minutes at the next meeting whenever we have a quorum. We'll go into first we have Emmitsburg County Festival. All right, so if you want, Ms. Bennett, if you want to come up in front and introduce yourself and with your proposal. I think we have some figures.
Okay, of course, I'm Sue Bennett with the Emmitsburg Country Festival, and I have brought a copy of some of the losses we experienced due to COVID for the last couple of years. I think you probably have a copy of that?
Yes.
Okay. So, if you have any questions, be glad to answer them. Whitley Clements is our chairperson, but she couldn't be here tonight, so I'm here on her behalf for the festival. These are events that we feel we can support the losses here, and there's others, but this is what we feel like is a fair amount to ask for.
Okay. All right. All right, so you took this as a process of previous years'
Yes.
Revenue, and then the loss of not having this.
Right. We did go ahead and have the festival, but these were losses we experienced anyway.
All right.
People were a little reluctant to come out and support it.
And so no, a lot of organizations the same position. So, any questions on this? All right. I think that we probably ought to look at these like other groups, festivals like the Pekin Board and that as far as their losses.
We know most small organizations in the past 2 years have had trouble, and that's a fair, I appreciate. I know what you're going through, and I commend you for it. Maybe we can all get back to normal one of these days.
We're hoping that this year is gonna be back to normal. We
We all-
moved it out a little further to September, so we'll try.
All right. As far as my discussion on this, I think we need to handle it the same as the other festivals.
I think it's right.
Brock, anyway. So we're gonna pass it on that way, most likely it'll be funded.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Tourism.
Your homework, you gotta be careful when you can fail. Our brain's strict.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so I was here last month. I'm Susan Lloyd with the Washington County Tourism Commission. And, I had different figures than Todd did. So I went back to the auditor's office, and the figures that I have here on this paper are correct. And so, tourism had a meeting since your last meeting, and we would like to request $10,000. It was a little bit different than last time. I mean, different than our actual loss. But since we didn't spend anything for a couple of years, we didn't want to ask for the full amount. So we would request $10,000. We've helped on different things like helping light up the courthouse and Bex Mill, John Hay House, the Depot, Stevens Museum on Settlers Days, the amphitheater that they're going to do at the Stevens Museum. We've helped the Campbellsburg Country Festival a few times. We do the annual pumpkin walk during trick-or-treating. We help the Master Gardeners get the first tulip walk going. We've helped with the courthouse lobby display of pictures. A project for this year is better signage as you're coming into town. Some of the, like Bex Mill, they've only really got one good sign. And so to get some better signage for that. And there may be other ones. Another one is to get together with Jeremy Elliott and do a history trail. Morgan's Raiders came through Salem, and there's a whole trail that, you know, we could jump in on. And then murals is another thing. I got notification of a grant that we could have gotten in on, but it was a little too late to get all the information together. So we would like to do that next year when that comes around again. I just think Washington County is blessed to have so many things to bring people into our county. And of course, more people coming in, maybe staying, going to restaurants, and maybe looking for a place to live. So we have also contracted with the Washington County Chamber to have their director do some of our work for us. We don't have an office per se, and we don't have a director. So we have used, when Tara Kritzer was in the chamber, we had used her to do some stuff, like answer the phone, Facebook, website. So he's gonna do that. And so we will be paying him a little fee because he doesn't get a full 40 hours. So, and we pay him quarterly in case it's not a good working relationship. So anyway, have you got any questions about what we do? We're supposed to bring in people to the county.
We know we work hard.
Well, we're trying. We've been kind of laid dormant for a little bit, so we're trying to get it up and going like it should be.
Commend you for what you do.
Thank you.
Now, when you call the amphitheater stage at the Stevens Museum, is that in front of the Railroad Museum? Or?
Well, it's between the two. It's down over the embankment. They've cleared that all off, and they've gotten great big stones, and they're doing a leveled.
I didn't realize that.
And then they're going to have a stage or amphitheater down there. They're planning on doing like a sing night, movie night, just to, you know, outdoor plays, that kind of thing.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Well, it kind of got started and then it got a little slowed down because of weather and stuff, so I think we're back on it again.
All right.
I'm gonna be checking that out.
Okay, I'd like to hear an update on that
Okay.
in the future. I wasn't aware of that. $10,000 is what you're looking at with using these in comparison. You're saying that, because of revenue stream not, being utilized that much, maybe in there, that you readjusted your figures to.
Yes.
Toward the 10,000.
Yes.
Okay. All right, questions?
Okay.
All right. Not official as far as the vote this way,
I understand.
but, I feel like, what they do in promotion, I would encourage the increase in signage though, because we do have some historical places and sometimes unless you know they're there, they're hard to identify.
Yes.
And, so, especially like Mexican, it would be nice to promote those hours too,
Mhm.
different places a little bit. Are you still doing the pamphlets at the visitors stations, or is that something that's not being done as much? Or did I open up a can of worms?
Well, you kind of opened a can of worms. We had 10 racks, and we can only locate 2 now, so I don't know where they went. But, we do put brochures out, and we will help with publishing those.
Well, maybe that's an old way of going about that.
Well, it kind of is.
Okay,
Of course, everybody carries their phone, and that's how they use.
Right.
So, Eric knows how to do geo-tracking, and it sounds very interesting. I couldn't explain it to him. But anyway, it's as people go to different places, let's say Nashville, and they're going to a festival up there, it will bing on their phone that, hey, Washington County has a festival similar to this, or here's a list of festivals that you could go to in Washington County. So.
okay.
Sounds like an updated pamphlet to me.
Well, and that works. I've been in Indianapolis, and of course, Google did a presentation about how they draw people into certain things, and they did a presentation, and as they use their credit cards, someplace they locate where they're at.
Right.
It's kind of like Big Brother watching you and that, but then they bing you in there and said, well, we know where you're at, you might be interested in this and stuff.
Well, I think that's geo-tracking.
Well, that probably is something that's definitely there. Okay, any other questions? If not, we'll just take this as, if you're updating the information.
Okay.
And as well, these guys make the decision, at the end with this, but it looks legitimate and stuff.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Sheriff's Department, or?
Fire Chief Association.
Fire Chief.
David, I asked, so the fire department, come on up. So the fire department wanted to report of what they've used money for.
Very good, that sounds great.
And they want to give you an update.
All right, great. Did I offend you? Sometimes you say something like that, offend the parties.
I won't say anything.
Oh, is that
On
right?
camera. No, we all work together pretty well.
Little banter here and there doesn't hurt.
That's right. This is, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Max Gamble. I wear multiple hats in emergency services here in the county, but this evening I'm here as Vice Chairman of the Washington County Fire Chiefs Association. As Phil said, we just kind of wanted to come back and give a little report. I know you guys donated. So the Chiefs Association covers all 11 fire departments in the county, as well as the search and rescue team. So we just kind of want to come back and give a little update on what we've done, kind of what we're looking at. This paper I gave you is pretty informal. I typed that up late last night and threw a few things on there this evening. So, basically, these were the departments that I were able to get a hold of, here in the past couple days. Shows just some real quick basic information of what they've spent some of the money on, what it's gone to. So, kind of first off, I just want to give you guys, the board, a collective thank you from all the departments. I know the money has went to a lot of good things. When I was fire chief for a few years, I know, I can use that when I was chief, so I know these guys are getting an excellent use out of it. It's enabled some departments to do things that they would have never been able to do. So, like I said, just kind of want to say thank you. I don't know if you guys want me to read through all that or not, but you can kind of buzz down through there. A lot of the departments were able to upgrade a lot of their turnout gear, so the protective gear that we wear. I know there were several sets between multiple departments that were bought, helmets, the coats, pants, boots. Those are running anywhere, full sets run anywhere between $2,000, $2,500. A couple of departments bought thermal imaging cameras, which are used for locating hotspots in the house, whether either to find it, extinguish it, or possibly finding hotspots before we leave. They've been using those for search and rescue as well, locating lost people. Some of the departments were able to upgrade some of their medical trucks. I know a lot of the departments bought some updated medical equipment, replaced the batteries on their AEDs, able to buy some personal protective medical equipment, gloves, and things like that. And I think a couple of departments were going to work on getting some extrication equipment, maybe some communication equipment. So a lot of things that would have probably never been able to get purchased. Obviously, with COVID hitting, our fundraisers and things like that have been hurt. I know I talked to a couple of departments, so they've tried to do some stuff, and it isn't really kicked back up yet, so they're still kind of hurting a little bit. So, but that's kind of where we're at. Was told there might possibly be another round of money coming, so if available, we'd like to throw our hat in, possibly. Maybe be able to fill some other projects that some departments would like to do as well. So.
All of our departments have masks going in.
Yeah, so if you look, there's a couple of departments there that updated their SCBA's. So that's self-contained breathing apparatus, like Phil said. Basically, it's a mask that we wear, hooks to an air pack. So I know a couple of departments were able to upgrade theirs. The biggest part of the fire department's issues is our gear has a shelf life. The turnout gear we wear is 10 years. The SCBA's are 10 years. The harnesses are 10 years. The bottles are anywhere between 15 to 20. You can see there on the second line there, Brown Burning bought some. I think they said they were about 7,500 a piece. So that's a big chunk of money to come out. So I know.
What is the total cost of that?
What's that?
Of the mask?
Yeah, that's about $7,500 for the mask, then the pack and the bottle. And then those require, so then not only do they have a shelf life, they require annual testing. So you have to have the company come in, test the seals, test the fittings, test all that good stuff. So yeah, that just with babies, like I said, is around that $7,500 range.
Basically, each department needs at least two.
Actually, so for an NFPA, you'd actually technically have to have a minimum of 4. So NFPA, which is our governing body nationally, requires 2 people, no less than 2 people in a structure, no less than 2 outside ready to go in and rescue them if need be. So yeah, you need a minimum of at least 4 for each department. So
Well, that's the trouble. Most people don't realize the danger of the stuff that's in the average home.
Yep.
They can cripple
So, obviously with the newer constructions, the more synthetic stuff they're putting out, you know, structure fire today is not what it was, you know, 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. A lot of stuff now synthetic, and like you said, it's, you don't want to be rude. Like I said, that's kind of where we're at. You know, this, obviously, the COVID's been a big issue, and this has really helped some departments get ahead of where they would have been. Like I said, I think everybody obviously still fighting it. I know we're still fighting, and probably will be for a while as far as they're left. But I know their festivals and stuff are lacking. Same thing with us having fundraisers. So.
There's never no end to the money, and
Yeah.
with the cost of everything, and it seems like it's for a fire department, they can jack the price up 3 times higher than everybody else.
At least double, you know. I mean, I can go to Home Depot and buy a sledgehammer for $10. I can go to a fire distributor and buy one for 30. You know, it's the same thing. So
That's why we buy the one Home Depot.
and you're exactly
It's the
right.
same brand.
Yes, yeah. I got spray paint. So.
Well, it definitely looks like it's helped you guys.
It has, you know, obviously, like I said, there's departments, I was chief of a department out north for a few years, and I mean, obviously, in that point in time, that would have been great. I know that same department used it for some good things, and, like I said, it's a heck of a dent into it. You know, obviously, we'll take whatever we can get whenever.
I think you come close to having another rescue the other night at Little York last week.
Yeah.
And John Burlington had stopped in and said that, and we had a gate problem with the wrong locks, and the wrong one didn't know, and we had to have bolt cutters.
Yeah.
They found her and everything was okay.
It worked out.
We appreciate all your work.
No problem.
I got a question for you. Now, I was talking to one of the volunteer fire department, one of the volunteers. They were talking about some of the heat equipment as far as identifying, you know, in the house where heat is, and I think you got some of these monitors in there. He said that they were trying to keep their equipment as far as compatible as much as possible with the different departments and some of their equipment, just in case they go into dual taking care of in there, that people are familiar with the same equipment. Is this something that the volunteer fire departments are kind of working toward?
Yeah, so there are 2 departments here in the county that have had a pretty long-standing relationship as far as sharing air bottles on scene. We'll call, you know, that if we run out of bottles or it's a big fire, we'll call that department to bring bottles. They may call us to take bottles in. So that has been a long-running thing. A lot of the departments are getting into buying, like thermal imaging cameras, or trying to buy the same one. That way, you know, if we should. So I work for Salem. He's out north of town here at Jefferson. So if we buy the same stuff and I show up, I can grab it and I know how to use it automatically. Versus, hey, I know it's a thermal imaging camera, but I don't know how to use this specific model. So that's something that, over the years, each department has chiefs that have their own way of doing things, but with the reinvigoration of the Chiefs Association, I think we're really starting to get on the same page over the past few years. So it's a lot of it is money. I mean, there's departments that have better funding than others, and it is what it is, and everybody tries to do what they can with what they got. But that has been a big thing the past few years, trying to get on the same page as far as equipment.
Now, you're from Jefferson then?
Yes, sir.
Could you go and give us an update of how Jefferson's doing? And, I've been on the past county council, so I know some history in that,
Okay.
so.
I'm the chief out there. I'm a retired U.S. Navy federal firefighter, 30 years. We have the largest landmass in Washington County and the smallest department with the oldest equipment. When we heard, that you guys were giving us money, it was a blessing, and we all prayed real hard about it. And when we got it, we were at loss because we lost the ability to do our fundraising at Port Bologna, that we normally do every single year. Hamburgers, hot dogs, the square, and those fundraising events usually bring in about $4,000 to $5,000 every year for us. And with that money, we spend all of our money up to about maybe $1,000 every year. We budget all of our money for gas, equipment, oil, oil changes for the trucks and things like that. We average about 150 to 160 runs per year. 90% of those are medical runs. With this money, we were able to trade our 1984 brush truck for a 2005 brush truck. So a huge blessing. We had driven all the way to South Carolina to pick it up and roll it back, and it's like a new truck to us. So we're ready to fight those brush fires that come along during the season, this time of season. We're able to upgrade our medical gear. We have a new battery for our AED that we haven't had in 6 to 8 months because they're just so expensive. We have a cumulative fund, just like most of the fire departments, and we have a fire fund. Right now, we are saving all of our money to build a new building. Our current building needs a lot of work. I personally took my money. I'm in business here in town too, and a bus driver. I took my own personal money and upgraded the heating system inside the building to where it was more of an efficient running system to lower our gas bill. But it hasn't done enough to keep the mold down. So that's what we're fighting. So again, I would like to say for me and my firefighters, we want to thank each and every one of you or anybody that had something to do with, especially Max and Jeff Miller, for helping us do this. And we would love to have another opportunity to do it, but we understand if money needs to go somewhere else. We're very patient people. We're all volunteers, non-paid. So, but as far as Jefferson goes, we're still hanging in there. I have a great group of young men and one woman. She's a PA. When we can actually get her to work with us, because she's always busy at Schneck Hospital. We have 3 EMT certified and 4 certified firefighters that work in other fire departments throughout southern Indiana. So we're doing good, and I just want to say from each and every one of them, we want to thank each and every one of you for helping us out.
Well, thank you for your work.
One thing we have to keep in mind this year, not only do they have to buy expensive equipment, but this year they're going to be facing gasoline prices the same as everybody else. And there's nobody here that don't know what truck mileage is, and it's not worth the dirt. And that could be our next problem.
Very good. Well, appreciate what your work you do. I appreciate your diligence with your fire department. I know you have struggles because of your tax base and stuff to work with, and you've got too much forest around, and so. But that's very good. I'm glad to hear that report. Appreciate you coming back to it. Hopefully we get you maybe a Christmas present this year.
We're glad to take it.
Thanks for bringing this report in.
Well, like I said, it's pretty crude. It was kind of short notice. I wanted to bring something
Good.
Appreciate it.
I do have one question.
Sure.
I noticed Jackson Township didn't submit any information. Is there?
Well, so Jackson and Posey, I don't have Jackson, I don't have Chief's number.
Oh, okay.
I know, I think I know what they got. I think they got some turnout gear, and hoses, but I didn't want to put it down.
It's no big deal. I'm just curious. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, because I got it for him now.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. You want to do your fuel tank now, or I don't see anybody from food back here. Are you presenting this as commissioners?
Say it again, Dave.
This fuel tank?
Yeah. We're probably gonna be looking at a cost somewhere around 400,000 when it's all said and done. Plumbing in, the first initial bid was 400 and some odd, but that company went out of business. And right now, we've got, 5 weeks. 3 months on the way. So if we order right now, it's quarter-inch steel with fiberglass coating over top of it. And if we go ahead and order now, it's quarter-inch steel plating, I think. But it's getting harder and harder to come by, and I have some told us we have to.
Yeah, we have no choice.
Did you say 400,000?
Well, the original one with the monitors and the pumps and the wiring and the plumbing, and it's parallel 2 tanks side by side. And the first initial tank was 440,000. What we got there is the latest one coming out of Evansville, and it's 2 tanks, no plumbing, no monitors, no piping, no nothing else. So based on, we're probably gonna be in that neighborhood of the total thing.
So the tank, this what we're seeing right here,
What you see there is 2 new tanks, no plumbing, no monitors, no pumps, no plumbing whatsoever.
And that's not even delivered freight, you gotta put freight on that and
Tanks for what?
fuel tanks.
Yeah, fuel
For the
tanks for highway department.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You gotta remove the old tanks, and you got all the plumbing, hardware, monitoring system, and dispose of the old ones.
What they bid for there is just the tanks itself, but there will be additional on top of it. But they won't give us any more quote, and they won't price no freight right now at all.
Until we order.
so will these be going into existing dikes?
No, it's
No,
going
they're
underground.
underground.
They're going
They're
underground?
going underground,
Up there at the highway department.
Yes.
They're underground.
right there in front of the main office,
Yeah.
that section, and there's a building there. And then they got gas, and then we got diesel. Right now, I think it's a 16,000 gallon diesel.
30-year. Right.
Yeah, 30-year warranty on these, or guarantee or whatever.
So, you gotta redo your monitoring wells and all that, an excavation.
Yeah, and ours is outdated.
And so if there is contamination, then you get to pay on top of that for this first of that.
We've not had any leaks that we're aware of. Because it's, it's monitored, twice a year, and we're not aware of any, I don't see any.
I think I didn't base it on the age of our tanks. The reason they're telling us we have to get rid of them. They run their life and they go on.
That was just it, was the lifespan went out. Therefore, you will get new tanks.
Okay, I heard some discussion in there, you looked at if this is legitimate as far as the use with this plan. And you referenced, I heard something about some page numbers.
We
Is that
were,
part of this?
we were talking about the tourism, but she
Okay.
called, or Kyra and Phil called Brian Colton, I understand, is that right?
Dan,
Oh,
in
Dan.
Baker Tilly, and it was approved.
Yeah. Brock, do you have any comments?
think it's 3 months before we can get the tanks,
Lead time's 32 weeks.
32 weeks.
The alternative is an IDEM comes along someday, if we don't do anything, and shuts us down. And then we can't run the roads. Well, we'd have to do some creative thinking on where we're gonna get fuel at. And of course, the whole purpose of having our own tanks is so we can bid the fuel off every year. Just, we save a lot of money doing that rather than stopping by, you know, have a contract with a gas station. Obviously, we would, when they go fuel up in the morning, they would crowd the place up anyway. It just wouldn't work too good. Really no different than a farm in a sense.
But to answer your question, we have no other alternative. We have to do it.
Well, okay. I know that we've dealt with some big ticket items, you know, directly, dealing with the infrastructure of the county in here.
Excuse me.
So you're wanting to make this decision by your next, meeting or even tonight?
If we make it tonight, it'll be ordered tomorrow and get it in the process so that they're at least on the way before the price goes up.
We were only carrying, what, 60-some thousand over from the last in there, working with a 2.74 for the next draw. We already made some commitments from the previous meeting.
What's the sale price there? And we'll check it, I did.
No, it didn't say.
I don't think we have to pay for it right now.
Well, it's just gonna take what we've got to work with by the end of the year. Because we've got some things that we'd like to probably do again. You know, like for the fire departments in there. I'm just trying to figure out where we'd be at. I'll just talk off the cut. I've been trying to think and visualize, you know, how we can keep enough money back to do a major water project. You know, we had, you know, two that's come past us in there, and maybe that'll never happen because we've got to get some other entities involved, but especially the water companies.
If you're speaking of the one out there between Mount Tabor Road, when Mr. Horner came in there, I was all enthused when I first heard of that and thought we could help them. But the problem is, East Washington's line that is even near that is only a 4-inch line. The closest one and the most logical one would be a connection with the city of Salem, because they've got a 6 or an 8-inch line out there. But I'm just calling it like it is. The mayor just doesn't want to do it. And he would probably dearly love for us to do it, but it's almost $2 million. Now, we can't hold a gun on the city of Salem. I suppose if we gave him $2 million, they would do it, but he just doesn't act like, I don't know whether they don't want the business or they just got too many other, I mean, they've got lots of infrastructure problems in their system the way it is. I mean, there are main lines within the city of Salem going from here to there, towers that are put together with bands. And I think he would probably rather put what money he pays for water on improving that. So, it's a sad thing to say, but I don't, we can't force Salem to do that.
Well, by basically next March, we gotta have all the funding spoken for, right? And then we got 2 years to get everything implemented.
26, everything's got to be started in 24.
Gotta be started.
It starts in 22.
Yeah.
It's got to be in the process in 24, but it goes to 26 for the finalization. Complete. It's got to be completed by 26. So we have 2 years after 24 if we're signing everything up now. Last year we had our money in March or May, but we haven't. And right now, I think we're looking at postponing our meetings till we finally get this money in. They have never cut it loose yet. So what we got right now, what we got, till we go to the next draw.
Okay. Well, so, am I dreaming of being able to kind of hold back for a project like this? Or,
I think we gotta be cautious, but right now, we know what we got. We know the commitments you've made so far. And like the tag deal we did, assuming, and I don't see anybody pulling out of it, and nobody stated it. I don't know that anybody's got their money yet on the second draw. And we should know in the next week or two whether we're gonna get it. There's gonna be a lot of messed up people if they don't get it, because there's been a lot of commitments made.
well, I don't wanna promise anything we can't, produce.
Yeah, that's just the problem right there.
You know,
You talk about a project of $2 million,
just,
unless somebody else is gonna.
well, something's gotta happen for us to allow to piggyback on it, cause we're not gonna be able to be a full funding project or something like that. That's actually gonna take some planning, significant forward planning on that. And like I said, if the mayor doesn't see that in front of him, as a viable project, and I understand, because they got more safety cones up where they're digging places up and fixing water lines. I'm surprised they can keep water pressure up. I tell you what, the system is old.
Dave, there's not a city in this United States right now that's setting very good on water.
Well, Louisville, what they're doing in there, they're digging up 100-year water systems.
Well, this town's full of them too. What we put in 40, 50 years ago.
They don't even want to talk about storm sewers, what they're made out of. Oh, yeah.
This ain't gonna be a life of roses, I'll tell you.
Now, well, their infrastructure has been neglected too long.
It has.
That's just it.
And if you don't keep up with it, you get problems down the road.
Well, Metries and Reynolds made a fortune putting liners in, for cities and stuff like that, so, still doing that. Well, all right, that's discussion, back here in there. Only comments I got is that, is the courthouse ventilation stuff got to be around 900,000 in there, and then we're gonna stick $400,000 in the ground, out there.
Well,
So there's 123.
you talk about starting out in the home business, building the first confinement building. Have you done anything to that building since you built it?
Oh, yeah.
And why did you do that?
Well, just to keep it operating,
And you have to.
yeah.
And you know, there's not a person in this place that don't have a house, a barn, a business, or what have you. And if we don't put money into it, it gets ahead of us. Now, we're here in a 200-year-old building, still operating.
Yeah,
I think our elected, we'll look at the electric bill today, but I won't know for sure tonight, but I think we dropped $300 on our electric bill here. We do have a complete new system in it. We pretty well rewired to modern LED lighting, which has helped that electric bill. But if you walk down the halls and look at cast iron plumbing, you got a problem coming there.
oh,
I
I see a lot of things.
But we will have that problem. And in today's world, if we don't keep up with it and we don't stay after it, we'll end up what we've been doing in the past 10 years, trying to play catch up to keep everything modernized.
Yeah.
And technology keeps changing day by day.
Have you looked at what the cost of putting in this tank above ground?
Yeah, I have, but then I found out, we got trouble if you do that, you gotta put a moisture accumulator on it, which does still get by and give you trouble with your engines, with water and diesel. And Gable Temple's the closest one I know of right now, that's got one on top of the ground, but they still have a moisture problem because of condensation in the tank itself sweats, and they put filters on it, but the moisture still gets ahead of it. And if you get it tied up your diesel, then you got your trucks broke down.
Yeah. Is it because we're limited on space is the reason they're on the ground, in the ground running?
We don't have no space out there. To be honest with you, without growing that place, and all our equipment's getting bigger and bigger and more of it. We're not gaining in roads. We ordered 2 trucks 2 years ago, it was supposed to be in the 1st of June, they come back about a year and a half, and wanted more money for what they'd already contracted. We said no. So we were supposed to get it the 1st of June, and we say ain't heard from them. Reading right now is having trouble with steel.
Well, the reason I'm asking these questions in there, I don't know of any farm put fuel tanks in the ground again. I really don't.
You don't know any what?
Any farm that's put fuel tanks in the ground again.
Well, I think the highway department uses about at least 5 times more fuel than the average farmer, maybe 10 times.
Well, there's other reasons, and I've had to deal with tanks, coming out of the ground in there. Of course, it's, I know gas stations are still buried with fiberglass and that, but of course, a lot of times they use a lot they are as far as coming in and out of there, but, that's the reason I'm going, why are we still in the ground, out there?
The only thing I found out, because I'd asked about it, and if you go above the ground, you gotta build a berm around it.
Oh, I believe.
And if you do that, but the moisture was the biggest drawback in what it does to your equipment.
Yeah, they're much safer underground, you don't have to worry about somebody hitting
Well,
them or blowing them up.
or shooting at them or whatever.
Our case room.
Room's a big thing.
Because I know that monitoring wells and those type of things. Well, a lot of regulatory is the reason a lot of these, systems come up, out of the ground. And I hate to put something in money, $400,000, that in 5 years they say, they gotta come out of the ground.
And who knows what IDM's gonna do?
Well, that's it, and, I can't predict that either.
We can either.
I know fertilizer and, fuels and stuff on farms are diked and above ground.
I'm not opposed to it.
actually go in there and say, yeah, that's your only alternative, I would like to see the alternative. You know, the fuel of the above system, where you would put them and stuff like that.
There's no place to put them.
Yeah, but, I mean, yeah, you say that, but there, but you got an adjacent lot just right across the, highway department, there where you're putting sewers and that type of stuff, you can put a drain system.
Where we gonna store sewer pipes?
Well, I'm just saying that I don't see, the reason I say this, all right, and I'll go back to some past history. You won't see a single lagoon ever put up again in the state of Indiana because of Biden. You will not put an earthen manure lagoon in the state of Indiana. It will not happen. You can't put it in there because they made it prohibited in that. So instead of, you know, of having even the underground storages in there, there's got to be a building over the top of it. But as far as those type of storages, they're trying to get everything that they can in concrete and above ground. And I think one of these days, you're gonna find gas stations that underground fuel tanks will be illegal. I really do.
You do?
Yeah.
I don't see how they could be.
Oh, I see it coming. I see it coming.
Well, there would be no need for fuel tanks when we're all electric.
Well, when we're all electric, that's right, so,
No need for.
but we'll all wait for that, you know. But, or that's the reason I say that, because I'm sitting in there with those regulatory, committee guys with idea in there, and their forte, out of the ground, out of the ground, out of the ground, out of the ground.
Electric.
Well, no, they even though you got test wells, they can't see it. It's just like a water line. You can tell if it's a leak, you can see it in there. It's the same thing. And it all has to do with monitoring in that.
That's what the system's on today.
So that's the reason why I say that. And I may be totally wrong
Well,
after the work.
Either way you go, the tanks itself, whether they're mounted up, mounted under, the tanks itself are gonna have.
Right.
Now, whether you put them on top of the ground or put them under the ground, they can be more research put into, consideration one, but you're still gonna have to have that tank.
Oh, I don't think you can get away with not having a tank. My thing is sticking something in the ground with the hopes that I get to change your mind in 5 years. Now, dike systems in there, as long as they can see it in there, and they're monitored in there, and it all has to do with monitoring.
That's a chance that we're willing to take.
But at the same token, Dave, well, just for example, this one town itself, how many underground tanks we got buried all around here with all these gas stations?
I'm saying nobody's gonna be immune. There's gonna be a certain amount of grandfathering, but you try to put something else in there, and it's not gonna happen.
You're talking about trying to predict the future.
Well, I've seen
Good luck with
IBM,
that.
I've seen IBM work too many things, you know, and, yeah, I just really, you won't see a farm go in there and stick them in the ground anymore. And there's 5,000 and 6,000 gallon fuel tanks on farms in there. Well, you'll never see them in the ground on a farm.
I'm more concerned about letting fuel in them right now.
Well, I understand that. All right. Well, that's my recommendation, is to get what that costs to put them up above. Now, you may say it's prohibitive on the space, as far as where to put them and stuff like that, but, I would want to take a look at it. Because I'm thinking you're a lot, even though that the tank is up there and it all has to do with monitoring.
Well, and you know accidents happen. But where the fuel tanks are out there on top of the ground, I'm taking away from what you're saying. And like I said, I checked into, can we do it? And they said the pressure problem was it. But if you go exposing the tanks out there and put a berm around it, you definitely have to, so it's in truck and plow, don't go plowing into it. We're confined out there from the graders and everything out there. It's a catch-22. You solve one problem, but you create another. And you fix that problem, but you got another. You move your problems around. And that's what we are. But as far as on top of the ground or under the ground, it doesn't matter. You still need to come back to, we've got to have the tanks.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that we do. Where it's mounted, how it's mounted, who does it, how.
The clock is ticking. We've got a 32-week lead time right now. And we've been told they need replaced, so we're.
Well, our quote's not that long, so, I mean, at that price, steel ain't going down, fuel ain't going down.
That's my 2 cents.
Rob? You wanna put in 2 more?
So, well, I'm divided. I'm not saying that you don't need to put the tanks in, but I don't want to do it twice.
Well, I guess the question here is, what is your view on buying the tanks tonight? Or is it the same tank, will either go up or down either way?
Well, I think that's a no-brainer. But whether to go ahead and bury it in there, I don't, I have an uncomfort with that.
You say I disagree with you.
And honestly, there's some things that's happening right now in the city of Salem that have a possibility to actually throw up a real can of worms. Cause you got an intersection, used to have 3 gas stations, on the corners in there. They're gonna be digging that up.
Well, that's just it. I mean, you don't just take a backhoe out and dig these tanks up. The tank's gonna be got rid of.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be got rid of the right way. And you don't get Joe Blow with his backhoe out there and digging one of these up. It's all gotta be done by IDM specs. And then you gotta get rid of that tank. And you don't just take it to the landfill. You gotta go through step by step on that too. And it's safe to step there, ain't it? You know what I'm talking about? Right there at the stoplight.
Yes.
Been there for 10 years, not been open.
Right.
You know what I hadn't sold?
Probably could have laid leaking.
It's got a leaking tank in it, and nobody, it's a $20-something thousand bill to extract that tank on top of the purchase of the building. And the building gates up.
I don't doubt that a bit.
And whoever puts their hands on there has pretty good business.
Yep. All right, well, that's my reservations. It's not that whether you have to replace the tank and that, it's just that I am just, the burying the tank, fuel tank in there, I don't see the longevity of it. I know why gas stations do it, and stuff like that. They're monitoring wells and all that, but, it's just too costly to extract them, to get rid of them. You've got a burn already set up, you got a tank that goes through its 30-year life, you bring a crane in, you set another tank in there, you're good to go.
30 years.
So, in other words, you're telling me, Todd, we shouldn't have to worry about it then?
You won't have to worry about it, and I won't have to worry about it.
Well, all right. Well, that's my only thing in here. You
feel bad? No, I didn't, now you're coming.
All right. It's not whether you have the tanks in there, it's just whether, if it's a good idea to bury it, as far as I'm concerned.
I won't argue with it. Certainly won't.
Okay.
All I can say to it too is just some moisture problem, those guys hear me.
Well, you,
There's some kind of filter could be put on.
well, you heard my reservation, Rob, he doesn't care, don't go worry about it and stuff, but,
I'm not leaving
that's just my part, it's just that, I think it has to be replaced in there. So you already checked the legalities of the money being used that way, all right. Can we go move on to the food bank? All right, we got this was in this afternoon, right, Cara?
Yesterday, late yesterday.
Okay. In there. Now you have it in front of you, just for them to know. Washington County Food Bank wishes to submit for consideration requested award of $20,000 for the county, from the county ARP allotted funding. This request would be greatly appreciated, much need for the help sustain services given to the needy, deserving citizens of our county who depend on them each month. The WCFB has been a constant source of help and hope for Washington County citizens in some difficult times created by COVID-19 virus. For many months, the virus threatened our health and safety. At the same time, our Washington County Food Bank, food suppliers, and distribution system are fighting to alleviate public fears for safety and also improve internal organization, distribution issues as well. Despite our best efforts, public perceptions and fears kept many folks from using the food bank during the worst periods of infections and hospitalizations. The move to inject money directly into the hands of low to middle income families by the federal government also gave cause for many to refrain from using food bank services. For the past few weeks, we have begun to see the number of families using our services begin rising again. The free government money has disappeared and inflation has begun to eat away at family food budgets. The Washington County Food Bank is now bracing for a stronger demand for your assistance. The Washington County Food Bank now faces two significant and potentially costly issues. The first is a sturdy and possibly retractable awning added to the front of the building. This awning would give better shelter to both customers and food products we place in this area. Those products are boxes of fruit and vegetables for consumption by who choose to stop by and pick them from them. Naturally, inclement weather can and does interfere with those wishing to avail themselves for the free food. Second issue is wooden flooring within the older part of the WCF building. Some floor areas used for stocking heavy canned goods or chests of freezer meats are showing signs of sagging from continuous heavy loading. At this time, a strong case can be made for having a professional inspection to the entire wooden floor area and make recommendations for enhanced bracing and support from the basement below. These are significant issues. Number one deals directly with enhancing the ability of Washington County to effectively distribute the products to those in need. Number two deals with building integrity and employee safety. We certainly wish to avoid any potential lapse in service and maintain Washington County Food Board, Food Bank availability in the county. Thank you for your time and consideration given to the request. Should you want further information, please contact myself or Janice Reiner at the numbers below. Submitted Mark Ledgerwood, Washington County Food Board Secretary, and then Janice Reiner, Board President. Now, I've asked for additional figures. They didn't have them. They have to go back to, they have to submit figures to the CARE. I don't know what that particular means as far as the CARE. They have to report back the amount of people
Food prices.
So what come first, the chicken or the egg? You know, we can make the assumption that COVID created some of this, you know, as far as you know, distribution, those type of things. But yeah, we've been working with figures where we're actually seeing a decrease in 19 revenue streams, you know, because of COVID.
Well, I guess my question would be there, and you touched on it there. You know, they're throwing a figure $20,000 out. In my mind, I think we need to see some hard facts and estimates, to, like fix the floor or an awning, or, you know, just to throw $20,000 out there, that's without any backing of it.
I agree. I think they're trying to make the case, but we need some more facts and figures together of what these costs are. Especially the wooden flooring, the wooden flooring structural problem within the building. I'd say take precedence over the top of the awning outside.
I don't think so, yes.
So I like to have them break those two projects, those two down separately, you know, in there as far as structural integrity. I don't, in here, I'm not seeing anything of asking for funding for food.
No, and who owns that building?
I don't know.
Is it donated, or did they rent it, or?
Is it Jerry Hammond's old place, or is it right beside it?
I know where it's at, but I don't know.
And the cleaners are,
Well, the cleaners is on the corner, but I don't know what else was down there.
Hammond was on this end, the cleaners was on the other end,
I don't know what was ever in there in the middle of it.
but I thought it was on the corner, because sometimes they're using, was that Walnut Street up through there? And they go in the back door to bring food into that.
Well, yeah, I think there's a basement in this. So I think the back alley toward Payne's in there would be Payne's.
Thanks.
Back behind it, is there an alley that goes right behind there?
I don't know, I'm not that familiar.
No, because you'll see some Miller come up there, behind all that. No, they'll build a hardware.
Yeah,
That was his storage building in behind that building.
well, what I think we need to ask for additional information. And I think we need to ask for building costs and cost of construction of the awning. I would like to see them separate. In fact, I would like to see some pictures probably of what they're looking at as far as the building itself in there. But what I don't understand in there, we're dealing with structural things, and there's nothing to do with food distribution.
Well, and that was where I guess I was going with my question, do they rent it or lease or what? You know, to put money into whoever's leasing it to them, you know, and say they bail on it.
Well, that's true.
We fixed a building up for a private citizen to make money off of it.
Well, and I can't say this, but I wouldn't be surprised if somebody is not just letting them use the building and tell them if they use it, that if there's any upgrades to it, it's gonna be on their cost. But, you know, as far as us using this money, you know, in there, there's no say that, that's kind of a, you know, a handshake deal, tell you the truth.
Well, like you say, once you ask, we'll ask them for some more details, and then maybe you wanna have them at the next meeting.
Yep. All right, so they we've already got it received in there, it's dated that we received it in there. We'll ask for additional information in that, so, I'll go ahead and make contact with Mark and tell him that we need some more additional information, give him our next meeting time, which is August, no, I wish it was August, July. What's our next
Well,
meeting?
that's what I was asking you.
Or do you,
Did we get,
you want to recess from this, or?
I like not knowing where we are. I like to have a 3-month delay till we get some of this stuff, trying to figure out where we're headed.
I don't think you want 3 months, you get so far behind.
August.
Well, August, okay, July, August. June, July, August.
Well,
1 month away.
be the rest of this month and all of July.
Yeah.
Well, then we just have the money and know exactly.
Well, let's look at an August meeting. What would be our August in there? Maybe Carr, if Rick is having trouble reading the calendar, would you please, oh,
Do what? Well, do you not see that sign? Required to be scheduled with the auditor's office. You know,
August the 2nd.
August second.
what do I think about? If we get our money within the next few weeks, it'll be fine, go ahead. Well, I understand that,
That's my trouble.
but I'm afraid if we,
This earth ain't changing, man.
Do what now?
This earth is changing.
Well, you ain't seen nothing
Here,
yet.
buddy.
skip a month, you know what you're gonna be bombarded with.
You think we will have one in July then?
We'll schedule it anyhow.
We can schedule.
We can always call it off
Oh, okay.
if we don't get our money.
So what's the date? We could put it pending on funding.
Right.
That would be July the 5th. Oh, that's right.
Okay, pending funding, July 6th, August 2nd, regular schedule. All right. Is there any other business that needs to be brought before this task force and the commissioners at this time? You have anything? So, if not, Rob, you want to make a motion? No. Hey, I'll second it. We'll take it up to vote. By golly, you better vote right away. We're going to adjourn.
Motion.
Okay. Second, we're adjourned.